There we are. We're live. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. I am Briar Harvey. This is the Neurodiversity Media Network. Oh yeah, you got to edit to your stuff, Stacy. We've got
Let's see.
old updates here. So, today is relationships and revenue. And I'm here with the operator, and we are going to talk about the five. I can never tell where I am on this camera. 5 types of relationship capital that
hmm
you can convert into dollars. So, very excited. It's going to be a good time. All right, start us off. Give us, give us, you know, tell us what you're going to tell us, then tell us what you told us.
OMG. Like, is that still the process for those of you out there that, you follow systems and structure? I'm going to ask you, is that still the process that you're using? Is it effective? Because that has been around for a while and deemed to be effective. So, yes, tell us what you're going to tell us, and then go back over that and make sure that the people know what you told them. See, I am the operator connecting small business owners to the resources and relationships they need in order to hopefully propagate more revenue, which allows you to have more profit when done properly. That allows you to relax just a little bit. Been hanging out with Briar Harvey and learning a lot more about myself from a personal sense and a professional sense of being a neurodivergent. And this topic of relationship marketing adds into the factors that you can take the known people that you already have and use those people to help distribute your products or your information so that you earn more revenue. And so that's what I'm going to tell you about today is 5 ways to use relationship marketing, which is what we're going to call it today, to actually expand either your distribution model or just the awareness of your brand so that then you have more people that possibly see it, that you target, that are your ideal client, that convert, that become cash flow. Alrighty. And so I love this because I am a brand ambassador. I am an affiliate for a number of brands. And what it
Definitely
does,
me.
yes, yes, yes. And what it does is just allows someone to have an opportunity to make more money without having to pay somebody first. And so we'd all love to do that. You'd all love to hire somebody to actually sell your stuff and know that really what you did was you actually were able to bring them on at a retainer amount, but you don't have to pay them until they actually convert. So let's do like a 5 minute relationship checkup because we want to make sure that you understand. Because some people start saying, relationships, what kind of relationships are you talking about? So, the definition of relationships, I'm going to give you two angles on that. It's the way in which two or more concepts, objects, or people are connected or the state of being connected. And then it is also the interaction that happens between or behaviors that happen between two people or two entities. So, by this definition, you have a lot of relationships out there. You have relationships with romantic relationships, you have business relationships, you have partner relationships. All of those, in any of those relationships, can be used for this purpose. So, that's a good thing too. First, I like to define a slight definition between, for me, a lot of people talk about having customers. And if you have a product where people are revolving, they're coming in, it's transactional, they're purchasing one offs, then that's a customer. But when you are looking to build a relationship with the person that's actually purchasing, then that's when I call them a client. And so you're going to hear me refer to throughout this process, and I may say customer, and that's based on the fact that it's transactional. And if I'm using client, then that's based on the fact that we want to build a relationship with this person to generate more revenue overall. And I got an aha, that's a point. And so taking cues, Briar, go ahead and jump in
So
on that already.
I've always thought of customers as product based and clients as service based.
Mm,
And that's mostly true. But
hmm.
I feel like there is some overlap. And like the example that's coming to mind here is like Apple, because those are products, but certainly Apple customers have a relationship with their hardware and that company. No? So I think this is a good distinction. It's really about building the relationship long term to create lifetime value.
Absolutely. Absolutely on target right there. Because just as you said, the difference is with the customer and it being transactional, you're looking at moving a number of items, even on the service side, digital products, or a number of quick visits, right? You're just doing these quick consults or discovery calls or intake where you actually may be charging. But when you're looking at the relationship component of it, the lifetime value of having them purchasing and coming back to you over and over again without you necessarily having to drive them back, your retention factors, all of those are included in this element that we're going to consider to be a client. And generally, it's considered under a more professional industry, right? We say that doctors and lawyers have clients, and even coaches and consultants will have clients per se. But yes, the distinction is the lifetime value. It is completing the journey for your actual consumer. And even, when we look at Apple, that's a great example because in some cases it's very transactional. And over a period of time, after having 4 iPhones and you establish and get an iPad and have an iMac or a Mac Air.
Right. I was just thinking, I wonder what the LTV is of the average Apple customer. And like, I don't even like Apple. I say with my iPhone in the pretty
Mhm.
purple color because I bought it because it was pretty and purple.
I
And
remember.
still, I've spent thousands of dollars in my lifetime with Apple, and I wouldn't call myself really truly like an Apple devotee. So I wonder what the LTV is for an Apple customer. It's got to be high.
Yeah, it has to be because we already know that each one of the devices it's already starting out high.
Hmm.
Um, and then you add on all of the additional items to go with it. So your
Oh
additional
Jesus,
charger.
I don't even want to talk about software or programming. Fuck, no. Let's not go there.
Right. But then iPods and
Mhm.
cases and it's like all of the things. Um so I'd like to, and I'm sure we can figure that out by the end of this. Let's see. And I'm just jotting notes down because I don't want to write so that we can figure that out and bring that back. And even if we're able to get that back into the notes by the time we finish this, and we can have that out. Okay. So that's one distinction that I made, and it's going to make a difference in the value, the lifetime value of that consumer. Um, is your mindset and perspective, and then also whether you use these ways to actually tie them into the business. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is going to be. Let me see here. I'm going to stay on task because I can ramble on. So I promised Briar I was going to be real
She
efficient
brought
with this.
notes,
Yeah, I
y'all. She
did.
brought us notes. Bless you, Stacy. Come on now.
Yes, and if they like it, then we can actually do a real workshop, a kind of working workshop, and talk about from specificity of their business, what does this look like for them? But relationship marketing is a marketing strategy that emphasizes client retention, satisfaction, and client lifetime value. It's designed to foster customer loyalty. So notice how we're taking the customer and we're working with them to actually make them a client, interaction, and then long-term customer engagement. Long term, y'all. Why? Because it's actually cheaper to keep her, right?
Hmm.
That's the same thing that goes with other relationships like marriage. It's the same thing on this side. We know that there's a value assigned to acquiring a customer and then of course becoming a client, but acquiring them. So it costs more to acquire them than it's going to cost you to keep them. And we know that engaged customers, now this is how they become clients, but engaged customers are 5 times as likely to repurchase, and they are also 5 times more likely to forgive negative experiences, those typos on the website, the emails that come out and they have a promotion on them but that they didn't include the code, the live that we said that we're going to have and we actually didn't have it, or there was something technical going on. 5 times likely to forgive negative experiences, which means they're not going to complain on the thread. They're not going to give you a one when it comes to your Google analytics and reports back. 7 times as likely to try one of your new products, and 4 times as likely to refer it to somebody else. So that's huge. That's huge just in itself. And so we're going to talk about 5 different groupings, which are basic, reactive, accountable, proactive, and in partnership. And all of these are, I've used them at some point. And before I started really breaking down and studying it to put it into proper words, I was like, I've been doing these things all along. And it makes me feel really good. So basic marketing is, it can be compared to traditional marketing as we know it. It's marketing that simply aims to entice the customer to buy, and it's direct selling. It doesn't include any of the follow up with customers like we know of for the products and services that they have. And there's no communication or even request usually for customer feedback. And so we know that that's going to be really dry. And already, if you start to think about how we open this up and the things that we're talking about, including that is going to not yield us as much money as we want. Um, so that's going to be your basic model. And you say to yourself, is that what I want to do? Of course not.
No.
Not after you continue to hear what we're going to tell you. The next is reactive marketing. In reactive marketing, there are some responses. So at this level, you encourage your consumers to, and remember, I'm still using consumer, to supply feedback. You want to hear about their complaints and you want to hear their compliments. You want to get any suggestions that they have and any random ideas that they have. Why? Because this is how you help to do your market research, and you do it with people that have already purchased from you, because you should value their opinions a little bit more than Joe Blow or Susie Smith off of the street. There's some effort in, starting to build a relationship with this consumer, and you actually respond to. It's not about collecting the feedback. It's not about saying, can you go leave me a review on my Google profile, if you're not going to respond to it. This is where the difference is made. So, although it's on the back end, you're still wanting this information so that you can help tweak your next program, so that you can make sure that you're offering your next live or your next summit, virtual summit, on the right platform, because you're getting the information from them. Um, it's not, there's no outreach marketing technique to this, but it's focused on those people that have actually purchased and getting their feedback. Now, When you move to the next level of this is where we start saying this is where you separate yourself out. And many times you hear about a unique selling proposition, a unique value proposition. And we know that some of the best brands, theirs comes in their accountability or accountable marketing. And so in a business, when you are starting to look at accountability, this is where customers start purchasing again, and you start giving a little bit of recognition. You start feeling good about seeing those names come back. Brands start to realize that you are reliable because they're seeing you come through. They realize that you're honest because if somebody has posted a complaint on your Google site, that you've actually responded to it and addressed the matter. If there has been something negative on a thread on social media marketing, then you have again addressed it. And it seems like if there is an issue, if I want to create a problem, they're going to respond. They understand that you encourage two-way communication, and that's the accountability factor. And so with all your marketing, you opt to deliver what you promise to do. You want to create trust, and you're providing good reasons for the customers slash clients to choose you instead of a competitor. And so that's where that starts to happen, because the trust is built, the loyalty is built, and they can see that before they actually purchase. And then as a purchaser, they feel comfortable in that. Your referrals start to happen, they start to become raving fans. And then that's when you can start to do things like have them become affiliates or having loyalty programs or things of that nature. So let's move into what looks even better once you understand and you're comfortable with being accountable, because there has to be a level of comfortableness. There has to be some type of support on your side, because you can't do it all by yourself. At this point, you have some team members. At this point, you have a designated email or telephone number for them to be able to communicate with you. At this next level, this is where we're going to say that 80% of the brands never get to this level alone, which is being proactive. Proactive marketing takes things to the next level. It becomes personal. Businesses keep in regular communication with their clients rather than just a one off basis. And they use the information they've learned to keep improving their products and services. And proactive marketing uses the data that they're finding, even from the competitors, in order to tweak their products and services. And they start to create new products so that they can actually keep those clients as clients, whether it is a new campaign, whether it is another product in the same line. So if you're service driven, then what's that next thing that your client would want? And asking them, getting their input, and having them be part of it. You are concerned about the successes and failures of these clients, even a little bit outside of what you offer. So you're asking about the other kinds of things that are their pain points, the other things that keep them up at night, to start building relationships with those people that offer those services along with you. You're concerned about continuing to engage in the future with them. And so that is where most people never get. They don't care. They don't want to send. They send out the nurturing sequence of emails initially, which is cool. But the other emails that they receive, maybe a newsletter if we're good. If we got to the accountable part, they got to a newsletter. But other than that, it's when the next big thing comes out. There aren't surveys. The feedback is not responded to. They're not putting things out on or addressing anything major that a client may have found to be an issue. Instead of being proactive and saying, hey, we realized that one of our clients brought this to our attention, blah, 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 blah. And so now the action that we're going to take, see, you're cutting it off at the chase there and making it public so that people know how you respond. But let's go to my big favorite, my big win, and part of why Briar and I kind of stay together now. It's partnership marketing. Partnership marketing helps encourage and maintain your client satisfaction levels through a mutually beneficial agreement with another business or even another client in some cases. And this is the strongest form of relationship marketing between the business and their clients. Because why would you go out of your way to connect with another brand that is not necessarily in alignment? Well, they'll be in alignment with, but not something that you would offer to put that in front of your client for them to purchase that and possibly not purchase from you. That happens a lot on with virtual summits. It happens with the workshops when you have more than one speaker. It happens, all of the time when you are on social media and you hear people saying, well, yeah, what you're offering is good. And I may need that, but right now I need this. And so when you've gotten to this level, we're at 5%. 5% of the actual providers of services and products get to the partnership marketing level where they are so strong and they feel so strongly about providing for their clients and what their clients need, and understand and believe that the trust that their clients have in them will actually influence their decision to make other purchases. But it also keeps them at the center when it comes to making, buying, and selling decisions. So having these relationships with other companies then becomes huge because you then can stay the go-to person and create all kinds of partnerships that actually keep your clients fulfilled and growing and happy.
And partnerships come very specifically when you reach that point of not doing all of the things anymore, because you have to have people to refer out to when you say, no, I'm sorry, I don't do this anymore. That's not my job. Here, let me give you someone else who can do that for you, and much better than I could have. And what's key here too, partnership relationships are not necessarily affiliate relationships.
Right.
There are a lot of people that I send business to with no expectation of remuneration in any way. It's just that I know that that is the right person for the job.
Absolutely. And that's it, because it's your client's best interest that you are looking to make sure is taken care of, because when that happens, the happier they stay, then the more likely they are to come back and spend money with you. So if they're having problems, then you have to also think about, if you're going to think from a sales perspective, how are the other issues that they're having going to affect their ability to maintain being a client for you? So if they have car trouble and it's now time, I have to decide whether I'm going to repair this car or whether I'm going to purchase a new car, and you have a referral for a magnificent mechanic that is going to take care of them and under your loyalty kind of discount, or even not, but just to say they're going to take good care of them, it could make all the difference in the world of them being able to make that quarterly payment or re-upping on your 3-month coaching program, or being able to purchase. Now they got your opt-in, they did your low end offer, now it's time, like in their journey, it's time for that next thing, and they can't afford that $497 next thing because that has to go to you know purchasing this new car. So even though it has absolutely nothing to do with what you sell, your influence and your impact does have an impact on the overall perspective. And making that connection is always good. And that takes for you knowing. That
Hmm.
takes you knowing that two-way street of accountability, because you have to even know that your client is going through that. And this is a lot of what we'll put this on another one, to as a coach, not as much consultant or strategist, but as a coach, you have an obligation to know what's going on with your client beyond just the portal information or your Zoom meetings that you're having, because it all impacts. And if you're not relating to that, if you don't have that relationship with them, they become frustrated, you become frustrated, they don't get their results, that becomes negative conversations that are had that impacts your bottom line pocket. And it's just some simple questions that show them that you care, before they move to the next something, and they'll be honest. And it's for the 9 to 5ers out there that are managers at jobs and they're having trouble with retaining employees, it's the same thing. Building those relationships gets that person, when that child is throwing up at 2 and at 3 and at 4, that texts you at 5 o'clock a.m. and says, hey, my child's been up all night throwing up, I have to stay home, instead of knowing at 9 o'clock when they don't show up. That's simply the difference. Now you have room to get somebody else to come in to cover that shift, so that the business still runs like it's supposed to, so that you don't have to struggle, so that you're not stretched at the job. It impacts so many things. So, yes.
And I think that there's value in really examining what the stages of marketing could be for your business. Even if you are not at the partnership level, what does it look like for you as you grow 2 years, 4 years, 10 years? What are the metrics that you would like to hit? How 6 months from now? What would you like to be able to do in your marketing that you are unable to do now? And how can you grow that?
Absolutely. And some of the ease of that comes in to something else that you and I both do, and that's audits of your current systems. Because the more things that you have that you can automate on the back end, the easier it is to start implementing the kinds of things that we were just talking about, where you don't have to think about it with each client or each consumer, each customer, to help them become a client. So if in the time span of your service agreement, or X amount of time after they purchase, you're asking them for their feedback, then that's already putting you at that level of accountability, as long as you're willing to respond to it. So you're reactive at this point because you're asking them. But once you respond to it, that puts you at the proactive state. And so your ability to retain those clients is 40% higher when you get to the reactive state, 40% higher, so that's good. And then when you start to say, okay, hmm, I want to do that next thing. Like, I know I need another higher price thing, but I also know that my clients need that next bigger thing, because their problems are bigger than they used to be. So now the solutions will be bigger than they were before. And what does that look like? I'm going back to them and I'm getting feedback. I'm asking them to ask other people in their circle, because, of course, those people are, their network is comprised of other people like them. So why go, create a new survey out there, just, and we need other outside input. So I'm not saying don't build an audience, don't have a Facebook group and all of that, but I'm saying use these people first. So if you concentrate on finding your ideal clients and nurturing those ideal clients, you obtain them, you maintain them, and then you retain them. And then that's where you start asking for the referrals. That can be automated. So, what platform, what system are you setting up to help you? And it doesn't have to be a person. Now, that really elevates the experience when there's a phone call, when there's a callback over it, an incident or dispute or a problem that they're having with a product or a service. Those, that really elevates it. But what kind of things can you put into place just with an automated system that gets you this information? Somebody decides that they want to leave your program before the time is up. An exit interview
Mhm.
is key, because you want to know, you want to, one, there's a possibility of retaining them, because a lot of people, they're leaving, but they're doing that, it's almost like a threat to you. They've already paid. but it's a threat. It's like, oh, because I'm not getting what I want.
A
So,
product friend of mine said that they built a custom, personalized, uh, unsubscribe sequence where they were reaching out. Sorry, our newsletter wasn't working for you. Here's a coupon if you tell us why, which resulted in literally thousands of dollars of sales, sometimes orders of more than $100,
mhm,
just by asking the question, what's not working for
yes,
you in our
yes.
marketing here?
So if you're touching them all along the way, let's say it's a 3-month program, if you're asking for the feedback along the way, you should never be shocked. You should never be shocked, one. And it's the same with, and I'm going to keep drawing a lot of parallels you'll hear me talk about in life, because I think that's where I am in life, is that it's the same in relationships. If you're not checking along the way and somebody says, oh, okay, well, I'm moving out tomorrow, like, you should never be surprised. And on your behalf, you shouldn't be doing the same thing, because there should be
I know some
clues.
men who are surprised, but that might be a conversation for another
It's
day.
But it's not to say that the clues weren't there,
No,
right?
that's correct.
The clues were there. That's their fault. That's their fault. But that's the same thing on our behalf. So when people say, like, I had no idea that they were struggling or they weren't getting the results that they, as a coach, like, that's super crazy, because what systems have you put in there to check milestones? What have you determined that is, going to help this process so that you're aware all along the way? Yes, the unsubscribe sequence, I see that, Jasmine. So many people are afraid to ask what's not working, but if you ask, you know where to adjust. And that is absolutely the point. So having these check marks along the way, and then absolutely, there are a number of people that their system asks you when you go to unsubscribe, it makes you put your email address in. Again, I'm annoyed by that. But then it gives me a list of reasons, right? Now, technically, we don't realize it's already unsubscribed you once you get to that screen. But if I'm giving a list of reasons, if you gave me an incentive to actually stay, or even check out something else, really what you've done is you've distracted me from unsubscribing, because now I go to look at the next something. So until I get annoyed again, I'll ride it out. But you're not giving me any incentive to stay. You're just asking me questions, and then don't come back after that, because now I've unsubscribed and you're in violation if you now start to communicate with me. But if you catch me, like you said, with that sequence, now I'm going to go look, you're giving me a list of reasons, and now I can check one of those. And now you can address that pain point immediately. Maybe it was the price. Maybe it's that I couldn't find what I was looking for. Maybe the emails come too frequently. Whatever it is, now you can address it or attempt to. Maybe you can't. Maybe it can't be fixed. And then to get that email of, I'm so sorry, the way our system is set up, or at this time, blah, blah, blah. I feel okay. When I'm leaving, or I may say, Dag, they went through all that trouble to talk to me about this, to say something. I don't know. I might just hang out, because there may be something good down the line. They'll be a keeper. But yeah, the unsubscribe process and the exit interviews for even those people that are graduating out of your service. Again, 3-month program, they're at the end of it. You've gone through and you've, given them the information, but you want that testimonial. That testimonial can come in your exit interview, requesting the
Mhm.
permission to just record having this conversation. You're getting their feedback when what they give to you actually gets implemented in the next version of, in the 2.0 version or the next program. then that they, you can email them and say, hey, the feedback that you gave me, I've implemented that, and now this is available in digital version too, or now it's blah 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 blah. And those people feel good. And so even if they don't need it now, they've already had it, it's a newer version, they're more likely to refer it to somebody because they've been through the experience, they gave feedback, and there was actually change made. Like, where does that happen? Where does that happen? So it really empowers the people that you are already serving to serve you in ways that are so natural for us as humans.
So, Jim Collins, the guy who wrote Good to Great, has a little, man, it's a pamphlet. It's not that big. About, and I can't remember the full title. I'll look it up and then I'll drop it in the chat. It's about how to design a flywheel.
Hmm.
And this is exactly that concept. So you start with your marketing, and then your marketing informs whether or not people respond to it. And then whether or not people respond to it informs product development.
Hmm.
And then product development goes around and comes back to people buying, which
Yep.
then comes to testimonials, and we're right back where we started with testimonials being marketing. So it's
Hmm.
this circle flywheel that gains momentum the more you develop it. And I really want to emphasize here that rather than, because I know y'all, rather than feeling guilty about the fact that you have not yet implemented these things in your business, I want you to look at how to develop those things going forward.
Hmm.
So, how do you add these components into your flywheel to help you gain momentum rather than kicking yourself in the ass for not doing it already?
That's not what we want to do. Like, period. The times for that definitely ended in 2022. Like, no more of that, because all of the energy, there's so many conversations, Briar, like we always, uh so much energy goes into it, and that same energy you can
Mhm.
be putting into tweaking, adding value to your existing, doing more things to increase your own personal and professional development instead of harboring on the have nots and the no's, and telling the universe that you want the yeses and the things that you do want to see. So the exit interviews, the surveys, the feedback, the designated email address for support. There's so many people I didn't know, I wouldn't have known, to set up a designated. I think about corporations when I think about it. Oh, they've got a support at, or a tech at, or a customer service line email address. And I can't afford to do that. Yeah, at $6 a month on Google with Workspace, yes, you can. Or even as an alias email address to your Google email address. So it's still coming to you. Nobody has to know that you're answering those questions, or you don't have that department. So it's just making sure that, and then when they come in to address those type of things, it's looking at what's working for other people. It's having those conversations with people that you hear other people talking about being with them. Oh yeah, I've been a client of theirs for 5 years. Like, what is that person doing? Become part of their sequence of opt-in things so that you can see, like, watch the process. A lot of times we don't watch the process. We're too busy talking about the process and what people are doing, and we're not taking in what we actually have seen works. you know Did you catch
And
that
I
comment from
think,
Jasmine? Oh, sorry.
yes, yes. And I think that as we solve our problems for ourselves, we really get to see where the gaps in our sequences are. And this is important because if you can't do for yourself what you do for other people, you need to know why,
Mhm. Mhm.
always.
Mhm.
And it's not just because it's for you. There is friction there. If you cannot do what you do for other people for yourself, what is causing that friction point? Is it a lack of alignment in what you're actually doing for other people? Is it a lack of alignment in the work that you would prefer to be doing for other people? Right?
Mm.
There
Mhm.
are a lot of things that come up. If you can't do what you do for other people, for yourself, there's a reason, and I strongly encourage you to explore that.
And I think we should have that as the next kind of topic, really, on our series here, talking about relationships and revenue. What about when your relationship with self is the reason why you're not generating
Mm.
revenue?
Ooh.
And, yeah, that's you just brought that up, and that's a huge component of it. And especially as females, as neurodivergents, as minority, all of those factors, and how many of those things compounded do you have to peel off the layers of to get to the core and to get to the money?
Hmm.
Let's do it.
All right. 2 weeks from now.
That's right.
So let's get back to building our marketing and using it to sell. So we've talked about how you're using your marketing components to inform the relationship that you're building with people, which, if you do it right, if you turn that flywheel,
Hmm.
will automatically equal into sales.
Hmm.
So let's troubleshoot what's happening when that doesn't happen. If I have done these things, if I've done the exit surveys, if I've talked to my people, if I know what the problems are, if I have addressed them and it still hasn't improved my sales, how do I troubleshoot where the issues are?
I'm going to say one is the actual journey that you are taking the clients on is disconnected, because there should be a constant cycle of people that are coming in from the new in and running through the gamut of what you have available to the what we see as the end at this time. So you are not growing with the needs of your actual consumers for them to become clients. And what does this look like? This looks like when I start my business, or after I do my actual market research and I determine that my clients need more information about how to sell widgets. And I've sold widgets before successfully. And so I decided to write an ebook about selling widgets. But after they get the book about how to sell widgets, they don't have a platform to sell widgets on. They know now what the process is, but they don't have a platform. So
Right,
you say, I'm going to now give them a low end workshop that talks about 5 different platforms that they can actually sell their widgets on and demo that. And so then the next thing happens, and you get a bright idea, and you're like, I know that my clients are on this selling widgets journey, but I'm now studying to become a Reiki master, and I want to talk about chakras. So let's start putting out, I want to do an ebook about, chakras and how good they are and everything. There's a disconnect. There's a disconnect. And I know
mhm,
this truly from experience. I'm less likely to have it though because I'm known for doing many things, but this is a big disconnect because your audience is saying, where'd that come from? They are also, now you have to see if this is something that your clients are even in, the consumers or prospects or even interested in, the ones that are in this circle that you've already created now, this ecosystem that's going now. If they're all starch Christians, they may not want to hear anything about chakras, but you have to know that. And before you start introducing that to your existing audience, that needs to happen. When you send out the email to those people that are in, just had the workshop for the widgets, and you're saying, this is my new big thing. Now, these people are already your clients, and you're going, oh, okay, well, this is my base for this. And they don't open the email, much less click to see anything else about it. And you're going, I don't understand what happened. You changed direction on them and left them hanging. Now these people aren't opening your email. And when you decide that it's time to go back, maybe I should go back to the widgets thing, and maybe I need to do a class on actually how to write the copy and content for all of their stuff for selling widgets on any of these platforms that'll apply. They're not going to be there because you've now severed. There's been too much time since you've held their attention. You've shown that your interests can flip. So even though you have an email list of 1,200 people now, even though there's still going to be a disconnect, and you would have to start the obtain process all over again. And that's what we don't want to do. You can build on top of, which means that you start another. And that's
Hmm.
where in the systems tagging becomes different. That's when you use a different platform to actually this nurture this audience.
Or you go back to my episode of Side Quests on Monday with Cheryl and decide not to monetize your hobbies at all. I'm just saying. It's just a suggestion.
Absolutely, absolutely. But that's some of the disconnect that
Hmm.
happens, is that you change directions, but your clients didn't change
Hmm.
directions, and so we're going, they're not responding anymore. Yeah. So if your following is so charismatic, um, driven, that they're going to follow you to the ends of the earth no matter what you're selling, whether it's widgets or whether it's cars or whether it's toothbrushes, then you're in a good place. Then this kind of thing doesn't happen a lot because you alert them, this is what we're doing now. And somebody, because your audience is so large, somebody will rise to the top. But you then still have to continue to nurture those people under the other things that you have, which means that you need to have automation. It means that you need to have support because you definitely can't do it all by yourself. But that's one of the things that happens.
I also want y'all to consider the difference between your guppies and your dolphins. And they're the same people, but they're at different stages on the customer journey. And the guppies are learning about the widgets. And then we have, the dolphins who need to know how to sell the widgets. And then we have the sharks who need to know how to make $1 million selling their widgets on their platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that you have to look at here too, is it a product market lack of fit, or is it that you are selling the wrong thing to the wrong people, and that you have the right product
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but you're not selling it to the people at the right stage?
Ooh,
So
so good, so good. And Lakeisha Sarborough is doing a 3-day series right now, challenge, lead magnet challenge. And That's one of the biggest thing, and she's done far more research on this than I have. But, that disconnect is huge. And so when you know that you have those two audiences, which I do, I have the consultants and the experts and the coaches that are looking for clients, and I have potential clients that are looking for coaches and consultants and experts. And I cannot talk to them the same. I can't use the same lead magnet. I don't have the same products for them. I don't use the same language at all. They don't have the same pain points. And so I have to be very distinct, even as me, the same person, in who I'm talking to. And so that messaging is huge. And that's what I'm working on now by working with AI, by working with other consultants and experts to really hone in on who wants what, and when do you serve it, and how long do you serve it in one lane before changing, or can you serve both groups of people? Can you
And
serve two
often, I
masters at the
think
same
you
time?
can serve multiple groups at the same time. But if that's the case, then you need to have pathways for them to go. The,
Yes.
and you can do it even on the same website. This is, in fact, something that we're working on our redesign this year, is that I have a far more constrained B2C pathway, and then the B2B, because it's consulting, but it can
Yeah.
all live in the same place. I
Yes.
just have to have buttons, or like really
Mhm.
sequences. This
Mhm.
is the button you push if you are in corporate. This is the
Yes.
button you push if you want to hear me speak.
Mhm.
This is the button you push if you need my low cost stuff for executive dysfunction, right? You
Mhm.
have to be able to structure things because it's the same audience,
Mhm.
but very different stages
Pathways.
of
Yeah.
growth and development. So be mindful of the fact that it may not be that your product is deficient, it's that you're not selling it to the right people.
And then also knowing, we know that trends change and things cycle through. Even clothes and shoes, right? And different styles come back through again. But you are not going to bulk purchase platform shoes
Those
if
big
this
red
is
boots,
not.
you're not going to bulk purchase the big red boots? Man, and this is a reference of the moment, y'all. Of the moment. So ugly. So $300 big red boots. I can't.
But point in case, exactly right.
They sold
Right
out.
now, that's the trend, right? That right
Right.
now it's the trend. If you can get your hands on them, yes, sell them. But you can't bring that. That's where people are mindset and willing to put their money right now. When you do this next year, you can't target the same audience, right? The trendsetters, it's past. So when you try to bring this to your trendsetter group and say, hey, now I've got 500 of these, they're like, okay, fine, glad you have those.
We,
But
we
when
wore
you
those last year.
Right. But your vintage group, your collectors group,
Oh,
those are the people that are going to be, yeah, people don't see the value in this right now, but I'm willing to. So timing is everything. So even within your own brand of, let's say you have your ladder includes 5 products or services. And so right now may not be the time that everybody wants that free information. We're trying to force the free information and people are flooded with the free information. No, they're wanting to purchase things because they feel like that's where the value is going to be. You have to stop putting ad spend money behind the free thing. And you need to know that it's your low end product. That's your point of entry right now. So knowing the difference between that, and then you put the money behind that and you're like, what the heck? Like this is going better and people are actually paying, then no, but you've got to know. And that is knowing too where your people are in the journey or the audience you serve right now. what do they want? And is it, if they're always willing to buy an ebook or a digital product, then it's figuring out what content goes on that right now that your audience wants to know about. And you can still sell the same thing over and over again. It's just, what's the new title? What's the new content of it? And being able to put that out there. But that's important.
Y'all, I'll never get tired of saying this. Your business, your life, it's a whole ass experiment. If you're not playing with the values and the metrics, what are you even doing?
And that's the truth. That's the truth. And so that's actually, part of what you have instilled in me, Briar. There were things that I did before, and I did them because everybody else was doing them, or because other people told me that's the way that I was supposed to be doing it. And you really gave me some permission. And at first I even doubted it. It's not, your parents say, oh yeah, you can go out tonight. And you're like, hold up, normally I can't go out during the week. So like, is this a setup? So when you were like, you have permission to do it the way you want to do it, you have permission to try it this way, you have permission to just not do it if it doesn't feel good. And I was like, yeah, Jasmine's been saying some of that stuff too. And now you've got a specialty in this area. And when I started changing the way and letting go of some of the other traditions and standards and saying, you know what, I used to create the rules. And then I started following other people's rules. And I don't do that. That's why I didn't go into the military. I could have done that way back then and actually be retired now. But no, I'm going to do it what feels good to me right now. And it's feeling good. It's feeling good.
And I think that's where we'll leave it, is find the ways in your marketing, in your relationship development that feel nourishing to you. It's not going to be the same for everyone. Obviously, my dream is to get out here and to record podcasts every single day. And the number of people that I tell that to are like, thank you, no thank you. I'm like, I know. And I'm over here having the best
You
time
are.
ever. So you
You
really
are.
do have to figure out what your experiments are, and then you have to, now this is key, scientific method. You have to actually run the experiment for a while. You can't just, say, oh, well, that shit didn't work and throw it away.
You mean the A
So,
B testing that people do overnight when the
right,
algorithm hasn't even
right,
determined yet
right.
about
Yeah,
one?
split
Yeah.
testing for one day. Yeah, let me know how that works for you. Do shit for a while, please. And then the third time, the fifth time, the 10th time, if it's still not working, then we can say, okay, that's probably not your thing.
Hmm.
But until then, please do enjoy getting to play with the way that you're marketing and you're selling, because if you don't enjoy it, I'm going to know. I'm always going to know.
Oh yeah.
I'm always going to be able to tell that you're not having fun doing it the way that you're doing it.
Hmm.
And then I won't buy from you. So learn to find the things that you love and lean into those.
And that's it. I don't have anything else to put on top. That's what you've been teaching me for 2 years now, and it's working. So I'm ready to sign out.
So 2 weeks from now, we're going to
Hmm.
beat you over the head more with how to square this shit internally. And I think there's real value there. So we will see you all next time. Please be here with us 2 weeks from now. This is Relationships and Revenue.
Mm.
I am Briar Harvey. She has been the operator. This is the Neurodiversity Media Network, and we'll see you again. Bye, y'all.